Monday, the government involved in litigation against the states and local government gun bans are going to have to file their briefings with the 7th Circuit Court of Appeals. That's a June 5th date, and we'll get to the latest there from the 7th Circuit. Obviously, as those filings come in, we may get it midday Monday, we may get it Friday, today, heading into the weekend. But regardless, next week we'll be unpacking a lot of what the state and local governments have to say in defense of the state and local government's ban on certain semi-automatic firearms and magazines over certain capacities. But back to this issue of today being, the beginning of Wear Orange, a campaign that gun control advocates have out there. And the question remains as to the Illinois Department of Human Services putting out a public service announcement yesterday, encouraging people to wear orange in recognition of gun violence and efforts to prevent gun violence. Now, IDHS says in their statements and an email for a PSA yesterday, again, wear orange on Friday to honor victims of gun violence and to increase awareness of violence prevention efforts. And they include the Reimagining Public Safety Program funded by IDHS, which is actually funded by your tax dollars. So anytime you see a state agency say, oh, it's from this aid, no, it's your tax dollars. But they go on to talk about how you can get more information about the program. It funds community-based organizations and offers youth development opportunities. But I did ask and have yet to get a response as to what the policy is of state agencies using tax funds to encourage a campaign that's being pushed by gun control groups. Obviously, that's a political issue. I have yet to get a response from the agency here in Illinois as to what the policy is for promoting these types of campaigns that some may see as political campaigns. But if you look at the wearorange.org website, you can see here that their partners include, March for Our Lives or Youth Over Guns, and a variety of other, Planned Parenthood, Amnesty International, a lot of these other types of Nuns Against Gun Violence, these groups that advocate for gun control. And it gets down again to that debate of what's the problem here? I had an email before I got the IDHS email, the PSA, saying wear orange. I got an email an hour or two before that from the Giffords campaign saying guns kill. I think people are, obviously debating that as one of the crucial issues in the ongoing conversation about the Second Amendment and the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed versus efforts to control guns, with those wanting more gun regulation saying that guns kill. But those who understand the Second Amendment say, no, it's not the gun, an inanimate object on the table that does anything. It is indeed the intent of the individual who's pulling the trigger. Because a gun laying on the table is not going to do anything. It's not going to jump and bite you like a snake. It takes somebody to pick up the gun and to pull the trigger in order for there to be gun violence. So interesting to see this, but obviously I have gotten no response from the Illinois Department of Human Services as to what the policy is of using state resources to put out a PSA encouraging a campaign like Wear Orange, which is connected with groups like March for Our Lives. 217-629-7970. Good morning. You're on WMAY.
Hey, listening to you, Greg, on the use of state resources. I mean, does that mean DNR is going to come out now in support of our Second Amendment?
Repeat that? I'm sorry.
I said I'd kind of following you with regards to the agency. Does that mean the Department of Natural Resources is going to come out soon and start supporting our Second Amendment?
Well, I mean, they do operate the licensing of hunters, and they regularly put out resources about hunting and whatnot. The Second Amendment is a constitutional right, just like the First Amendment is. So,
but isn't that supporting the opposite side? So basically, it's the same thing.
No, I don't think so. Because hunting is an effort that has some regulation by the state and giving out licenses and whatnot for individuals. If they were to put out a message saying that all semi-automatic firearms should be legal. And if they put out a policy statement encouraging, say, an opposite of gun control campaign, I would have the questions about that. No question.
Okay. Don't they have a shooting sports division?
Yeah, absolutely. The World Shooting Sports Complex down in Sparta is pretty active, and they bring in people from all around the country.
Yeah, I think that we got to be careful before we start saying our taxpayer money is being used for things as political when basically, we're using it for a variety of things that are considered to be political.
So again, you're intimating that simply, as it is on the ground right now, you have a Second Amendment right, and a government agency operating the World Shooting Sports Complex, for instance, down in Southern Illinois. You're intimating that that is somehow using state resources for political issues?
Well, I don't know. Doesn't that support our gun rights?
I feel you're playing devil's advocate, but I don't know if you're doing the best job here. Help me out.
I think I did fine. I don't know what else to say. I mean, this is what happens. Our state monies are used for the resources and the agencies that they're designed for or designated for. And I see no problem with DNR doing it, and I see no problem with DHS doing it.
All right. Got you down. Appreciate the call. 217-629-7970. I'd like to hear from anybody else out there with thoughts on this. But again, DHS putting out a message about Wear Orange. If you go to the national campaign, Wear Orange, it's got a whole host of organizations that are right there listed, including March for Our Lives, the Latino Victory Project, Union for Reformed Judaism, Youth Over Guns, and a whole bunch of others. And some of these groups are gun control advocacy groups. But just interesting question to postulate. Appreciate the attention to it. But again, next week's going to be a big week for the gun litigation. You've got the briefs for the governmental parties. They got to file by June 5th, and then about 2 weeks after that, then you'll have the plaintiffs in that case. And this is all out of the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals, where you've got the consolidated cases of Beavis versus Naperville with the cases from the Southern District of Illinois, and flashing back to last month's order from the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals. They say that the ruling or the hearing on this is going to come June 29th, and there's no delay in the filing dates, and they're not going to allow for any amicus briefs. They're not going to be entertained. So this is a what they call a rocket docket. So June 29th is when oral arguments are going to be heard in this case. And you got to know that also the Northern District case, the judges there sided with the state and local governments, keeping the bans in place. In the Southern District, you had that injunction for 6 days before a stay was issued by the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals. And these cases now consolidated. And the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals saying that the stay on that injunction from the Southern District will remain in effect until these appeals have been resolved. So next week's going to be a big week for the gun litigation. We'll be tracking all of that for you. Let's take another quick call here. Good morning. You're on WMAY.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. They're taking all my favorite colors. Orange is my favorite color, and I don't think we need gun control. I think we need people control. And if Department of DHS, if Department of Health and Human Services want to help, they need to do something with educating people and helping mentally disabled
people with mental illness.
Yes, thank you. Help people with mental illness. They need to help people understand that, especially younger people, that life is not a video game. You don't get rebirthed after you get shot. And you just take over right where you left off, and that's.
And DHS does have programs that do that, right? And they're talking about the Reimagine Public Safety Act that does fund various resources and programs, but at the same time, encouraging people to comply with a campaign being operated by national gun control groups. Some may see that crosses the line.
I think it does. I don't think they should use our funds I don't think they should use our tax dollars to move any political campaign forward. And that guy who called about the Sparta thing down south, even though it wasn't quite voiced properly or put out there properly, I could almost see where he's coming from, because those are tax dollars that are funding that. But you can also think of the fact that tax dollars also, well, not really. I don't think tax dollars really fund Olympics, Olympic shooting, Olympic events.
Well, but
I think
to the
that's all
issue
done
of
privately.
But to the issue of the shooting sports complex, it's not like they're putting out pamphlets saying, "Hey, there's this national campaign going on to increase." Or to relax gun laws, right?
Right. No, that's to drive a campaign, and that's where I think they crossed the line.
Right,
but,
I appreciate the call.
I can kind of understand where that guy was headed.
No, and I get it. And he was playing devil's advocate, but it's kind of apples and orangutans. So appreciate the call, and obviously we'll watch what happens next week with the gun litigation, and I'll update you if I get any response from DHS about the policies of using tax resources to promote a national campaign that can be linked to a political movement. So just wanted to put that in front of you this early on a Friday morning with Springfield's Morning News on 92.7 WMAY, Springfield's News and